Will you remark further on this bill? Representative Mastrofrancesco of the 80th District. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really don't know what to say about this extension. I got to be honest with you. I feel like I am in a sequel to the movie Groundhog Day, and I am stuck in a warp. Because we're unable to get this right. Ironic as it is, Mr. Speaker. There's no doubt there may be one or two of these executive orders that could be acceptable. But the issue that I'm having here today, and I'll be brief, Mr. Speaker, because I feel like I'm up here every other month debating this issue, and I don't want to be redundant. I keep saying the same thing over and over again. But there is a process that we have here in the legislature, that we go through committees, bills have public hearings on them, they go through the process of legislative research, and then they come before this body and we debate them. There's no reason why any of these bills that are here today could not have been through that process. Now, I do understand that there's a couple of them. I believe the CT Wiz one is in a committee right now. Certainly, and if that is the case, they could just vote it out of committee. We can bring it to the floor and debate it, and it should not have to be in an executive order. This is the problem that I have with extending any of these executive orders. It should not be. This has been going on for 2 years. It's, in my mind, really an abuse of power. That we usually, an executive order should be a temporary thing to do. And certainly if it's that important, it will come to this body, we will debate it, and we will codify it into law, like I believe we have on some of the other ones, which is certainly acceptable. But these should have proper public hearings. The public should have input in it, and the public doesn't have input in it. It's certainly not in this building because they're still not allowed to come in for a live public hearing. It's just wrong. It's just bad policy. It's not a representative of government that we should be supporting. These should all come for a public hearing. They should be debated on, and this body should take up the issues. And again, if they were in a committee right now, there's no need to do this. Now, I understand that these expire on April 15th. Is that correct? Through you, Mr. Speaker, to a question of the proponent.
Representative D'Agostino.
Through you, Mr. Speaker, that's correct. If we don't act, these would expire, and perfect example, as the good representative just mentioned, is that online access to vaccine records. If we don't pass this, then the 225,000 people who currently use, I don't know about you, but I love having it on my phone and be able to access it when I need it. That suddenly becomes no longer available to anybody who uses it, and currently we have about 225,000 people who actually use the CT Wiz system. So yes, that order and the other, again, I'm using the wrong nomenclature there. That law, because it's a law, not an order, that law would expire on April 15th, along with the 3 others I mentioned. Through you.
Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as the good representative mentioned, he was talking about the CT Wiz system. I just have a follow-up question to that. And you had mentioned that they would not be able to use the system. Are you saying that on April 15th at midnight that this system would shut down and would not be available for people? Through you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative D'Agostino.
Through you, Mr. Speaker. That is precisely my understanding. The only thing, we would revert back to the prior system, which is actually paper, which would require people to make physical requests for their vaccine records to DPH, get that mailed back to them. It would shut down on the 15th by law. DPH could no longer operate the CT Wiz system. Through you.
Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I do understand that if the CT Wiz system was so important and so vital, we could be voting on that bill that's, I believe, in public health right now, as opposed to extending an executive order, which is one of the problems that I have with it. There are other issues, I believe, and concerns with the CT Wiz system about private information being shared, and perhaps that's probably why we are not addressing that out of the committee today, because it still has concerns with the people, so I understand that. But, I don't want to be redundant here and take up a lot of time, but I cannot, in my heart, find any reason why anybody should extend yet again executive orders. This is our job as a body. We should be doing it. And what's going to happen on June 30th? I see this a lot, many times here, is that we're working from home and everything is a rush. Everything has to be done last minute. We've had months and months to prepare. This is concerning to me that we are not following the proper process and letting the people of the state have input in it. What's going to happen on June 30th? Are we going to be back here extending yet another emergency authority to this body? Where today we are here just extending executive orders. Yes, the good representative is correct on that. There is a little misunderstanding out there. But yes, this is just to extend executive orders. What will happen on June 30th? It seems like we are in a never-ending pandemic. 2 years. Before you know, we'll be going on 3 years. Mr. Speaker, this has to end. This body should be making the decisions. It should not be unilateral decisions by the governor or leadership. It has to be done in the proper way. So for those reasons, I certainly am going to oppose this. We need to get back to normal in this body here, have people in the building, debate issues, in-person committee meetings, and if it's good policy, then people in this room will find it in their heart to pass it, and if it's not, it's not. That's what our job is to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Will you remark further on this bill?